Let's be real. Have you ever gotten so fed up with a game's protection you do just about anything to get around it, just to play the game you want to play? Well, we need to talk about this because there's a really powerful tool making the rounds online that promises to do exactly that. But as you're about to find out, the real cost of free could be, well, everything.
I mean, it's the ultimate fantasy for a gamer, isn't it? A magic key that unlocks any game, no matter how tough its anti-cheat or DRM is. It sounds amazing, but you know what they say. If something sounds too good to be true, it almost always is.
So this magic key we're talking about is a third-party hypervisor. It uses some seriously deep-level tech, hardware virtualization, to basically lie to a game's security, making it think everything's A-OK. The promise is total gaming freedom, but the price you pay? You're handing over the keys to your entire computer to some developer you've never met. Right, so to even get this thing running, it's not like you just double-click an icon. Oh no. You have to go through this very deliberate ritual of systematically tearing down your PC's most important defenses. You're not just opening the door, you're literally dismantling the castle walls brick by brick. And look at how precise this is. First, you have to go into your BIOS and turn on hardware virtualization, or VTX. Then you disable kernel isolation, which is basically Windows's bodyguard against sketchy drivers. Next, you have to turn off Windows' own built-in Hyper-V, so this new program can have exclusive control. And the cherry on top? You enable something called test signing mode. That tells your computer, hey, you see this completely unsigned, unverified piece of code? Yeah, go ahead and run that at the deepest, most sensitive level of my system. It's cool. And that's the absolute heart of the matter. You aren't just giving an app permission to run. You are actively forcing your PC to trust a driver that has no digital signature, no credentials, nothing. And you're giving it ultimate control over the physical hardware of your machine. Which brings us to where this tool actually lives. To really get how dangerous this is, we got to talk about something called privilege levels, or rings. See, this isn't just some clever hack. It's a fundamental takeover from a place you probably didn't even know existed. You've probably heard of Ring 0. That's where your operating system kernel lives, the very core of Windows. Well, forget that. This hypervisor runs at Ring -1. That's a -1. It's a privilege level that sits underneath your operating system. It's underneath your antivirus. It's underneath everything. It becomes the new ground floor for your entire computer. And this slide just lays out the power dynamic perfectly. Your antivirus, running up there in Ring 0, can see and protect Windows. But this malicious hypervisor down in Ring -1, it sees the antivirus, it sees Windows, it sees absolutely everything. And the terrifying part? Nothing in Ring 0 can see it. It's a one-way mirror, and you're stuck on the wrong side. This all setup enables a scary concept called dimensionality reduction deception. Now that's a mouthful, but what it means is simple. The thing at the bottom layer can lie to everything above it, and the layers above have no way to check. The hypervisor can be stealing all your data while telling your antivirus and Windows everything's fine here, nothing to see, and they'll believe it. Here's a perfect analogy. It's like you hired an enemy spy to be the head of your entire country's security agency. You can launch all the investigations you want to find the mole, but you'll never find him because he's the one in charge of the investigation. The game was over before it even started. Okay, so even after hearing all this, a lot of people have reasons why they think this is still okay, why it's safe. So let's just go ahead and bust the 5 most common and, frankly, dangerous myths that people tell themselves about using these tools. Yes, myth number 1. This one's huge. We're all kind of conditioned to think open source equals safe. The code is public, anybody can look at it, so it has to be trustworthy, right? Well, here's a reality check for you. Can you, yes, you, personally sit down and audit thousands upon thousands of lines of incredibly complex, low-level C and assembly code designed to run at the deepest level of a computer? I'm guessing the answer is no. And if it is, then the term open source is completely meaningless for your safety. You're still just blindly trusting someone else. Okay, here's another classic, the safety in numbers argument. The thinking goes that if this thing were malicious, it would be noisy and obvious, and the internet forums would be absolutely exploding with warnings. But that's just not how modern, sophisticated attacks work. Smart hackers play the long game. They plant a sleeper agent. The malware gets in, sits there quietly, and does absolutely nothing for months, maybe even years. Meanwhile, the community grows, everyone says, see, it's totally safe. The hacker just waits, building a massive silent botnet, until one day they decide to flip the switch and activate hundreds of thousands of infected PCs all at once. Now this one might be the most dangerous myth of all. The good old nuke it from orbit approach. If anything feels weird, just wipe the hard drive and do a fresh install of Windows. Problem solved, right? Clean slate. Wrong. So wrong. Because we're not talking about a simple virus that lives inside Windows. We're talking about rootkits and bootkits. This stuff infects the master boot record of your drive, or, and this is the truly terrifying part, it flashes itself directly onto the BIOS or UEFI firmware chip on your motherboard. It literally becomes part of the physical hardware. And this sets up a nightmare scenario. You format your drive, you install a brand new, squeaky clean version of Windows, but the very first thing your computer does when it powers on is load the infected code from the motherboard's firmware. That code then injects the malware directly into your system's memory. Your clean Windows is already infected before it even gets to the desktop. Formatting does nothing. All right, what about being careful? Just turn off security for a little bit, unplug the internet cable while you play, and then turn everything back on when you're done. Seems like a smart precaution. It's completely useless. Turning your security back on after the fact is like putting on a bulletproof vest after you've already been shot. The damage is done. The malware is already inside, running at a level your security can't even see. And unplugging the internet? The malware doesn't care. It's patient. It will just wait until the moment you plug that cable back in. So let's just step back and look at the big picture here. When you go through all these steps, what do you become? What does the hacker see when they look at your expensive, powerful gaming PC? They don't see a gamer having fun. They see the absolute perfect victim. A powerful machine packed with a high-end GPU that has voluntarily stripped off all of its armor and is basically screaming out to the internet, I am unprotected, I am powerful, come and use me for whatever you want. And the endgame here is nothing short of catastrophic. Your PC becomes a botnet zombie, a puppet used to attack websites. Every single password you type for any account, your email, your bank, your social media, it's all stolen. Your financial data is completely compromised. And worst of all, your computer, the physical machine, can never, ever be trusted again because the infection is literally burned into its hardware. So it all comes down to this one simple question. After you've manually disabled every shield, after you've opened every locked door and invited a complete stranger into the absolute core of your digital life, giving them total godlike control, is playing one free game really worth risking all of that?